Hello YouTube, it's Ryan here with HobbiesofaMan once again, and today we're doing our wrap-up video for December. This is actually more or less like a check-in video since I am doing it on the 15th. Although this should come out around the 20th maybe, depending on what other videos I release, right? But this is my end of year review, or my end of year wrap-up. At this point, I will do like whatever I cover or whatever I read and enjoy and watch between the 16th and the 10th of January, more or less, maybe earlier, maybe the 5th, whenever I come back, will be under my holiday wrap-up, right? And so this is just what I've been reading the last couple of days, and also including some of the stuff that I read while I was away for Thanksgiving, because if I remember correctly, my wrap-up video for November also ended or was filmed like 10 days early, right? So let's just jump into it. So in terms of watching stuff, I haven't really watched much. I mean, I started watching Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning just because me and my dad like that movie. So I watched that. Then I only got about halfway through before we stopped. And then I came back here to Dallas, and then I just haven't gotten around to watching it again. I've continued to watch Dan to Dan. I've been really enjoying it. I love that series. It's wonderful. It's so funny. I think there's only one episode left in the season for now. And hopefully the season or the second half of it comes back soon, just because I love that series and I can't really wait for more. So if I feel kind of, what's it called? Unfulfilled by the 13th episode, or is it the 12th episode? I think it's the 12th episode that comes out next week on Thursday after I record this. I will just start reading the manga. Since I have the Viz app, it's really easy for me to read it, right? So I'll start doing that if I don't like the way the season ends, and I will probably also end up doing the same thing for Fear. And so, otherwise, what else have I watched? I've been watching a lot of YouTube, actually. I've been watching Night Shift and Area 52 and Christian Harloff, or Down to Earth with Christian Harloff, and Vetted, and all of the UFO guys, that the UFO community. I really enjoy watching Night Shift and Vetted and Down to Earth a lot, and Julian Dory, and what else? Danny Jones, and what's his name? Jesse something? I don't know. All those guys that are talking about UFOs constantly. I've been watching a lot of that. I've been always a fan of that, but lately in the last couple of weeks, I've just been enjoying that more and more because I end up having to do a lot of stuff in these last couple of weeks before going home for a few weeks to get the YouTube channel ready and stuff like that. And a lot of it is rote stuff that I have to do. And sometimes it's more enjoyable to listen to a podcast and music. And so I've been watching a lot of that, which means I haven't really watched too much TV. And in the same way, I haven't really read much either. So Dan to Dan, YouTube, and then I did watch Solo Leveling Reawakening, which is the Solo Leveling recap movie. The best part of it was the last 40-ish minutes, which is actually not a recap, but rather a preview of season 2. It was awesome. The animation was wonderful. The fight was so good. It was covering the second Red Gate that Jin Woo-san goes into, the one where he takes the girl that's friends with Gina, with his sister, and he saves her and a few other people from the ice elves and the ice monsters, or the ice bears, or whatever they're called, the polar bears, right? And it was just awesome. The way that the ice elf fights against Shinwoo is so cool, very interesting. I like the Loki vibes that the ice elves have. It's very enjoyable. And the movie's not bad. I actually recommend it to people if you want to learn about solo leveling but don't want to bother buying a manga or anything. You can just buy the book, you can just read, you can just watch the movie. And if you're interested by it, I recommend you go get the novel at that point and then get the comic book as a last resort, because the comic book is great. It's very fun, but the pacing is a bit off. It ignores a lot of information from the novel. And then the other thing is that it's significantly more expensive because it's $20 per volume. There's more than 12 of them, whereas the novel is only 8 books, and they're $15 a piece. So it's way more economic to get it, although you can get the first Solo Leveling comic book for about $10 from Amazon or Target or Walmart. I recommend you go buy it from there if you're gonna buy the comic book. Otherwise, there really isn't much else I watched. That's basically it. So in terms of reading, in November, I ended up finishing up Bookshops and Bone Dust, which is the second book in the Legends of Lattes series. And it was great. It was nice to see a younger Viv, a bit more unruly. My favorite characters are always the little ratkins. I love Fern. And I think, what's his name? Timble, the one from the first book, is great. I love that he's a little baker guy. It reminds me of Remy from Ratatouille, so that's why I liked him. But Fern is a great character. I really like her a lot. And Bookshops and Bone Dust almost felt a little bit like the Han Solo movie to me, right? Where it's like, okay, we got to give you an introductory story for this character, and we got to tell you how they got all the things, right? So we learn how she meets Galina. We learn how she gets into books. We learn where she gets black blood and all of this stuff. And it's cool, it's interesting, it's enjoyable. And I don't mean this as a bad thing, right? It just reminded me of that concept. Because in the Han Solo movie, they even show you where the hell he got his dice from. These weird dice that he hangs on the Millennium Falcon. And it's like, who cares? They're just an ornament. They don't mean anything, right? So sometimes I felt a little bit like that. But broadly speaking, I really liked Bookshops and Bone Dust. I always want to say Bone Dust first. Bookshops and Bone Dust because of Fern and Pot Roast. I just think those characters are hilarious. And I love the concept of working in a bookstore. You know, it's something that I wanted to do growing up that I never got around to, just because the bookshops that I wanted to work at were too far away from my house. But it is something that sometimes I even think about now, right? I don't have a job right now. I am a university student. And sometimes I'm like, damn, I really wish I had a job. And one of the thoughts that always comes up is, what if I just go down to my local Half Price Books and get a job there? But then I just never go through with it because it just wouldn't work for my resume, right? So it is what it is. But I really enjoyed that book, so I liked it a lot. I also read Goblins and Greatcoats, which is a little short novella that you can get for free. And it was pretty fun. I like the Goblin character a lot, Zill, and the fact that she has a pony, or actually I think it's a donkey, that she calls Round Boy. And the way that she talks is really funny. But the story wasn't that great. I mean, I liked it. I thought it was fun. I thought it was really funny the way it ended. But there's not enough substance there, right? Which I think is actually why we got Bookshops and Bone Dust instead of like a more mystery-centered story, because he couldn't figure out how to write it well. So it is what it is, but I thought it was fun. You can get it for free, so it's worth it. You just download it from Subterranean Press, and it should be as a Kindle or EPUB. You should be able to just open it with any of your e-reader apps. And what else? I read The Wandering Inn, Book 6, The General of Israel. I did a review for it already. It's great. I love this book. I like this series, actually. And the book was really awesome. It finally got to the epic fantasy portion of The Wandering Inn, like a billion words into it. And it's great. I really loved it. There was a few deaths in this volume and in book 5 and 6 that I didn't appreciate that much, just because I don't think that they got the respect or the need, or they were even needed. They didn't get the respect that they deserved, and they weren't actually needed beyond telling us that Askarash is a horrible person, right? Askarash being the necromancer character in The Wandering Inn. And so, there's some issues with the volume overall, but they're very minimal, because when you look at The Wandering Inn, you look at the whole scope of it, and all of the bad things kind of fall away. They don't really become that important. So it's always interesting to talk about The Wandering Inn, because I mostly remember the plot lines that matter to me, even though there's like a billion things going on at the same time, right? And then I read Solo Leveling Volume 8, and this is the last book, the last novel. And actually, honestly, I think it should have been divided differently. It should have still been 8 books, but the story, let me see if I can show it to you. The story is only like 60 pages of this final book. The book is about 300 something pages. It's 270 pages long, and only 60 of them are for the story. So these 60 pages should have just been at the end of volume 7, and then all of this should have been volume 8 bonus stories. and they should have been organized differently, because that's the only issue I had with this book. The story ends fine, it's enjoyable, it's cool, but the organization of the bonus stories and the epilogue just doesn't work for me. It doesn't make sense because it's not in order. They're just kind of random things. And I honestly think it was probably just Chugong, the author. He just kind of wrote them randomly and then he just left them in that order when he published, which is not the right way to do this. Honestly, a lot of those should actually have been part of the story, and maybe there is like a solo leveling definitive edition that has all of these little extra bits added in the chronological sections as a more broad, bigger story, right? A lot of these seem to be things that Chugong was exploring and finalized enough to publish, but not enough to put in the order that they were supposed to go. And the best part about it is that it does give us an in for a second solo leveling story following Jinwoo Sung's son, Suho, Sooho. But I'm not sure that Chugong is writing that. I know that Redeye Studios is doing that because solo leveling is like their biggest cash cow, and so they want to continue it on, do like a Boruto type of thing for it. But I don't know if Chugong is going to be involved in that. So we'll see when we get to that point, when it gets released here in English, if it ever does, right? But that's it for the novels. I didn't read any manga this month. So here we go. Let's see if I can do these in order. So we have Battle of the Blackstone number 3 and Battle of the Blackstone number 4. And I think the story is great. I really, really liked it. I think that Jim Zub did a better job here than he did in his previous attempt at a Howard universe kind of combined story, right? Because in this one, Conan and Solomon Kane and James Allison and Conrad and Kirawan and who's the last person? Agnes, Dark Agnes, all end up existing in the same time period for a bit and have to interact and go on a sword and sorcery quest to save the world. And it's really interesting. They have to fight this monster, as you guys can see right there. And the most interesting bit, and this is a bit of a spoiler, so be careful, is that at the end of book 3 or issue 3, they kill Conan. And it's a bit of a trope because he doesn't stay dead, obviously, but within the context of the story, it makes perfect sense to me, and I was pretty happy about it. I thought it was interesting. It was very brave to kill the main character of the story in the 3rd issue before the final one, right? But it had like an interesting context. As long as Jim doesn't do this again next year when he does a second crossover series, I think it should be fine. There shouldn't be any problems, but we'll just have to see what happens there. Then I read Wonder Woman number 12. This is fine. I got this because I was upset that I didn't have a full run due to just a litany of stupid decisions on my part. I ended up getting Wonder Woman and then deciding that I didn't need the 3 issues that tied into Absolute Power. And then there was a problem with my local comic book shop. They didn't understand that, so they got me one of the tie-ins, even though I told them not to. And then at that point, I was like, well, I guess I'll just get the rest of them since there's only 2 more. I got one from that local comic book store, and then I went to a different store to just kind of see if they had any copies of it available, and they did, and so I got it, and I'm happy about that. And it's fine. It's not a bad set of issues. Like the 3 absolute tie-ins from Wonder Woman are fine. They're not bad, but they just have nothing to do with the main story, and that's really annoying because, like, what is the point? Like, you are breaking the facsimile or the concept that these are interconnected stories. If Wonder Woman is trapped on an island by, like, her greatest villain, she cannot also be in Absolute Power. And so why was she there? It should have been a different female character that is in the Wonder Woman mythos, right? Maybe Cheetah could have shown up instead of Wonder Woman, or maybe it could have been Donna Troy. She takes on the Wonder Woman mantle while Wonder Woman is trapped in her story, and she goes and becomes the Wonder Woman for the Justice League for the while that Absolute Power is happening, right? Like, they could have done a different thing, and they chose not to, and that's just infuriating because it's really annoying because it breaks the concept, the veracity of the idea that these are interconnected stories, right? I don't know, it's really annoying. Then I read Power Rangers Prime. This is fine. I didn't dislike it, but I don't understand what's going on. I guess this is supposed to be a new universe, but it feels like you have to understand the previous stuff to get it. And so it wasn't clear to me, but I didn't hate it. Although it did read a bit YA for my taste, a bit too too childish, which I guess is fine. It is Power Rangers, but I'm pretty sure most people that like Power Rangers are like my age or older, right? I'm 25. Most people that I see online talk about Power Rangers are like early 30s. Maybe some of them might be even 40 years old. So why is Power Rangers still being written kind of like it's for kids? It should be for adults, right? Just kind of get that out there. And it's still like a high schooler thing. I get that they're supposed to be teenagers with attitude, but I don't know, man. So I didn't like that part of that much, but overall it was fine. I did enjoy it. I wouldn't mind getting more of it, but I'm not going to go out of my way to do so, especially because it's like a $5 book, and I don't think it was worth $5. You have Justice League Unlimited. This was great. I really, really enjoyed it. I think the roster is really interesting. You have Star Sapphire, and you have Superman and Wonder Woman. Batman shows up, but he's not part of the Alpha Team or whatever they're called. Black Lightning was an interesting choice. And it's a really cool concept. I really enjoy the way they're doing this, where all of the superheroes on Earth are part of the Justice League, and they're all working together all the time. I'm not really sure how this affects them as individuals, but again, the stories don't actually tie in. They just use the same characters, right? So it is what it is. Flash Gordon number 4, great stuff. I really enjoyed this. And this one, they flee from that planet, Death Planet, and they're on a ship. They have a really cool space fight, and then they have to land, kind of very similar to Phantom Menace. And they're in a hive of scum and villainy, and they have to deal with some crazy shit. And it seems like they're going to go meet Dale Arden in the next issue, and I'm excited about that. Here we have Rogue Sun number 23. It's not bad. I enjoy the Rogue Sun story, but I don't care about the Dodie story. That's kind of the secondary storytelling that we're learning about, and I just don't care about those characters, so it's not that interesting to me, but I don't hate it either. It's just kind of like, okay, let's just get to Rogue Sun already, right? Then we have Top Cow Holiday Special. The 2 stories in here that I liked are the Befana, which is the Witchblade story, right there. It's about an Italian witch. It's just supposed to be a parallel to the Witchblade. And then we have a Darkness story where we get to see Darkness take on the role of Santa, because this little goblin guy accidentally knocked out the original Santa. And so he had to get the Darkness to be Santa for the night so that Christmas could happen. And then we have Aphrodite 9 story that just didn't make any sense to me. I was not interested in it at all. And the artwork for it was not very good. So it is what it is. We have Witchblade number 6. This is awesome. I'm really, really enjoying this series. The Darkness is going to show up next issue, and I think that'll be really, really cool. Then we have Absolute Superman. We have 1 and 2, and I'm really enjoying it. I think it's really cool. The artwork is interesting. The different ways in which we're seeing the Superman suit work and exist, and the AI kind of concept that we're looking at with Jason Aaron is interesting, but I'm not sure that it's working the right way. Although from the context of a person in a university that deals with other students that sometimes use AI to do their work, the way that it's represented here is not accurate to real life. It's an interesting sci-fi concept, but I don't think that we will get to that point. I mean, a lot of people are, at the point where they use AI to do their work for them, like when it comes to writing, but you clearly understand that these people don't know anything of what they're saying, that they don't know what they're doing when they do this, as soon as you ask them a question. And so it's not actually a viable way of going through life. It's not viable for a society to depend on AI like this, right? And I guess it's supposed to be because of Brainiac, but whatever. Otherwise, the only complaint I have about Absolute Superman is that Rafa Sandoval is a great artist, but the way he draws faces, particularly the way he draws Superman's face, is a bit weird for me because it doesn't look consistent. It also looks like he's like drowsy the whole time. He looks like he's about to fall asleep all the time. And I guess that's supposed to be because he's tired, because he doesn't have enough sun or whatever, but it just doesn't make sense to me. It makes him look inconsistent. It doesn't make him appear powerful and big. It makes him look kind of weird. And it doesn't work for me, but it's not that bad. And then we have Transformers number 15, which is awesome. I really enjoyed this issue. We're back on the main story, and it's wonderful. I'm really, really enjoying it. The best part there was the interesting idea of villainizing the Autobots and humanizing the Decepticons, making them seem opposite of what they usually are. And I think that Dana Warren Johnson is doing a great job with that. I think it's great. It's very cool. So I will continue to read this for as long as he writes it, and then we'll see what happens after that. So yeah, that's everything I've been reading this month. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed. Happy holidays. You know, enjoy your time with your families, and see you guys in the new year. So see you guys later.